And I wasn't sure whether if we set somebody up to go in through Preparer, will they have access to all the same functions as GL Manager and Investment Accounting, or do they need to go into GL Manager and Investment Accounting in order to do those tasks? And if so, are they set as global and therefore they can actually do, because we sort of have restrictions around Preparer can do the creation and a reviewer can do the posting, but if it's global, then presumably they can do both, and then we don't have the control.
Yes, if you set them up, okay, let me just quickly go into here. So the most important part is here, and this is something which you just need to revisit here. So when you set up a user, it depends on what particular, I'll just use random, for example, here row. Okay, so at the moment, they're just using Focus Manager. So they have not been given that functionality to do the other products. So at the moment, they cannot access that. So it depends on what role you have. So in short, this particular role, if you come up to, and you just come here, and then you can edit it and say, okay, I want them. I want them to also include GL Manager. So you just come here, and then once you have got that, the GL Manager will appear, and then you can choose. So here it means that they can access everything now, but then for that particular row, then you can just say, okay, I don't want them to see this. So you just add it to the company row, which can be assigned to any user, but you can always add the rows which you want here.
Sorry, how did you get? Is this editing the role en masse? So this is editing the whole of IQEQ Preparer, not just for one person, right?
Yes. So this is why I went to company. As you can see, I'm no longer using that. Yeah. And then I just go to the rows, and then I can then if you go to the individual, you will not be able to see this action.
Okay.
So so you'll be able to add additional rows there. But if you are only using these two, then all you need to do is just come here and add that.
Are you allowed to select more than one product at the same time?
If you use company, yes, because company is more similar to custom menu, if you know what I mean. So if I come here,
I'm trying to do it on my screen, and I can only click Forecast Manager or GL Manager.
You can't do cross-product, so you would need a company-specific role per product.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we would need to create new ones if we want to have GL Manager and Investment Accounting to be customized.
If you want to limit
what we need to create them.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Then what I just wanted also to quickly touch on is everything we are discussing, especially on GL Manager and accounting. There is one thing you can do quickly. This is you have got the ability to say, okay, if you want to have this as your favorite, you can always mark it as your favorite, and then if you come here, if you come here, you can mark what you want as your favorite, and then you'll be able to see it here automatically, so you can quickly go and see what you want to see. So here, if I come here and say my favorite is this one, I can go there. My favorite is company. I can go to the company. My favorite is that. So it's similar to what you have in 7S. Then the most interesting thing about V8 in general is instead of waiting to get an answer for something which you have, so if you are stuck in terms from an application point of view, you have got this you have a question. So what does it do? When I am in 7S, I can come here and then automatically it will give me everything I want to know about. So if I have a question about the dashboard, I can click here and then it will tell me everything. So the good thing is you have got access to that. From an admin point of view, it will tell you a few things, but also if you have any question, you have got the ability to look at that. This is sort of like the generic overview. If you want to do anything, you can look at that. If you want to do any accounting roll-ups, it will give you an idea of what it is. So it gives you a quick way of looking at it. And anything you have on that particular one, what your capital calls, how do you create a capital call? It will tell you how to create a capital call, access, and all that. The interesting thing as well is if, for example, I am in the reports and I click here, you'll find that if I come here to the reports, I'll have the reports, and it gives you sort of like a generic video you can watch overall about reports. And then of course it will then give you all that. So this is quite very helpful as you learn how to navigate this. It will give you an overall view. So if you are stuck, mostly my presentation is more or less high level and try to sort of like focus on the key things, then it's also important to know that you can look at these things, and that function is always easy. Then of course, like I say, if you want to look at your options which you have, you can look at that. If, for example, you've got IQ, EQ, preparer, it will appear here as your row. And then, of course, one other thing is, one final thing before we move to the next one is, if you click here, you still also have your rows. So you don't need to worry about clicking here because you can use this option. Okay. Now, whilstly we have looked at this, what I just want you to get out of this is the fact that V8 is very intuitive, and I think it's simpler to navigate. From an accounting point of view, of course, it will get some getting used to, but I think it's quite very intuitive. The dashboard and everything, you can or more or less visualize that. Okay. The other thing I want to quickly look at, we are now going to look at with special focus on investment accounting. So we are going to look at things like transaction processing. We are going to look at investment accounting roll-ups and that. Of course, I've done this as workshop 2, 3, 4, but because we are doing a crash course here, contains that, we'll definitely be in a position to pick up on stuff from that angle. Okay. So what I want to do now is, again, focus on this particular presentation. Okay. So again, already you guys know quite a lot, but I just want to give you a quick overview, whereby we are saying, when you look at your entity structure, you've got your share classes, your feeders, your that. It depends on what you have. So in your case, like what we just saw, you have got your various levels, which are in admin. So for most users, you won't be seeing this, but for the administrators, these are the levels we are talking about. Okay, so you have got all your levels there, and it's quite important then to know the overall things in how they link up, which I think you already know. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I just want to give an idea of the fact that these levels will affect your entities, your transactions. It will affect how you post your journals, how you post your consolidation. And then, of course, when you look of consolidation, we are talking of roll-up. So this is basically the relationship information between investors and that. So in essence as well is the fact that this has already been done. You have already designed your structure. Everything is built up. The relationships are there. And then, of course, you already have got these roll-ups. And then, of course, when we talk of capital transactions, we are effectively representing the cash flows between the investor and parent. And this is more or less driven by the fact that you have got capital calls which you want to make. You have got distribution of income. And then, of course, these follows in the sense that as a result you just need to have these batch allocations which generate journals in both investor and investment, and this is in essence your capital transactions or IM transactions. And in essence it's then we are saying what we are looking at already. Again, this is sort of like a quick catch up. Before we do any capital transaction procedures, you've already set up the levels, you've got the entities, you've added the commitments, you've set up the transaction types, the rules, and the rule sets, and then of course you have attached the transaction rule sets to commitments. So here I'm just giving a background on things which you have already done. Then the most important thing is when you have got your setups, this is just from an administration point of view. Again, you just go to the transaction to investment accounting, you go to the configurations, you go to the capital section, and then the transaction types. You have all the transaction types. So in your case already, you have got these transaction types. If you come here, you already have got these transaction types. Yeah, and you have already defined them, and they are all here. So again, here I don't want to overemphasize, but what I'm trying to say is the things you have already set up in 7S have already been imported here. So in essence, if you just want to add an additional one, then you just come here and then you add a row, and then you add that transaction type which you want to define. So and in that sense, you have got these transaction types. And this is, I just want to go back here. So you have got that transaction types, you have set them up. And then, of course, when you set up your transactions, you are effectively looking at these things, moving cash allocations up and down. And the key things are the three key things you are looking at are that. And then, of course, you have got the cascade rule sets. So these are the actual underlying journals which are generated. And in V8, this is where you have what we call the cash transaction rules. And in essence, it's the same things as what you have got in 7S under your investment accounting, in setup, investment accounting, and then you've got transaction rule sets. And this is what you have. So again, I don't want to overemphasize. I just want to make sure that we have the same logic here.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, is cash trans rules the same as in version 7? Is that the same as the transaction types, or the same as the income allocation rules? Or is there no exact
So here they are split specifically. So if you look at here, you have got your rule sets which you have here, your transaction rule sets which you have already set up for your. So this is effectively when you are doing your IM transactions. So this is the actual processing of. We'll come back to here when you do your capital calls, your distribution, or you do any cash transactions. This is what you are doing. Lastly, the income allocation are set separately in here, so you have got those ones. But the logic is still, its logic is still the same. Okay, so that's why I wanted to make that quick distinction. Yeah. And then for your fees, you have
cash transaction rules. It's not. It can be non-cash based. It doesn't have to be through cash account or anything like that. It's just a name and and view.
Correct. So you can see here, you are more familiar to this than me. So if I look at this, you have already done that. You know your account. So like this one is in and out. So yeah, it's not a cash account, but the logic is still the same. Yeah. So if I click on that, the logic is still the same. If you go from 7S, so you have got that. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you've got the see how you've got the debit account. You need to select an account there. Yeah, is that just a ledger? It's not a cash account. It's just a ledger account. You can select anything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then of course, when you look at that, when you look at your transaction type, you can do the same. You can allow a journal or not if you want to do that. It's the same setup as well. Okay. Then what you once we have got that, then you have got the commitments. When you look at it this way. I switched this off because I just wanted you to get the idea that when you do your IM transactions, these are the rules you have set up, and this is where you find them. So it's configuration. Then you go to your capital. Then you look around that. But the most important thing is already you have got the system whereby you have already set up your commitments. But just to revisit the commitments, it's important that after you've created your transaction rules, which are called the whatever what we call the transaction rules, and then of course we have got the income fee, the income allocation and fee. You need to add that to the commitments. So in essence, there are two ways of looking at the commitment here. So the most important thing is, if you are creating a commitment for the first time, you will then be able to come here under your reports. You can display and see all the commitments which you have here, and then you'll be able to you'll be able to edit a particular commitment if you want to. And unlike in 7S, you'll find that here, if you look at here, you have all your particular commitments, your end dates and all that. And this allows you to edit. And the most important thing is, this is where you add up sorry. I'll just try to do that. This is where you add up your rules, your transaction rule set, your cascade rule set, and if you are doing any consolidation on that entity, you put in the roll-up rule set, and then if there are any calculation, and then these are your allocations, which we're talking about. You can view the percentages and all that. So, in essence.
Just on that, because that's a lot better than V7, because you had to do it one by one. But I'm just, because you've got you've got a big list here of clients that some people might not be working on. Would that just be, it would be custom set for a user to only see or have access to change the client group that they're working on? Because it'd be quite easy there, because there's a big list there to select the wrong one and update that if you were updating specific clients. Can you set it to just one client group?
Yes, all things being equal, remember, we said first of all you're in a property group, so you have access to that. So that's the first thing, your property security. So I don't expect you to see things which you are not able to see. So in essence, this is where you have got your So you can select that. So in essence, it will be restrictive. And then the other thing as well is, like I say, you have got the security. When you set up a user, you've got the group which they have. Then the other thing is, when you come to the dashboard here, also, you have got, let's say you've set up your filter. This is where this becomes very interesting. So let's say if I come to a property here and I look at the most recent one, which entity is very recent? Let's say
You are. I think you are 825 has had recent commitments on it. Yeah, you are.
This one?
You are 70. You are 70's had recent commitments.
Okay, let me just say so.
Yesterday.
So you what?
You are 70.
You are or you L?
You are R for Roger.
Oh, sorry. Okay, okay.
And then 70.
70. Okay, this one. Okay. So this is going to be interesting now. So what we have is you've got this, and you can see that it has got 14 investors. But the most important thing is you can come here in the structure and hierarchy. You can see the structure itself. So it's showing all that, and it will show everything. So you can show the investors, you can show the investments. So these are the investments. So, and then you can show the expanded. If the structure is too big, you can then just export it to that. So that's one thing about the dashboard. You can go to the particular entity and you look at that. Then the next interesting thing is you have got the entity relationship here. So you can come and for that particular entity, you can come and see the relationship of that. So you can see the investor side and also you can see the investment. And if you see the history here, the same thing we were looking at from that side, you don't need to go to that full list. You can just come to the particular entity and you can do the same, edit it and do that. Okay.
So can you update all those investors? Say we were updating the commitments. Could I go into the entity this way and then update just these investors all at the same time?
If you are on this particular screen, you can just go there, you edit that, and then...
And you edit one by one?
Yeah.
But on the other screen, I could filter and edit them all at the same time?
Exactly. So this gives you the options. So it's all about simplicity in terms of what you want to do. So here, if there are two, you can just come here and say 1, 2, or so that it's easier. But if you've got a bigger list, then it's better to do it from the other side, and then you can do it in one go. Yeah. So that's sort of like the commitment side of things. You can come here and look at the history. Then one other thing as well is when you come here is if for any other reason you want to add a new commitment, you can also do it here. You don't need to go to that particular screen. You can do it at your particular entity, let's say investor level, and say, okay, I want to do a commitment. Then you can add a particular commitment from there. So wherever you see this screen, it gives you an option. So there are a few things. So again, if you are not sure, you can come here and then you can just type in commitments and it gives you the various, of course, automatically they need to show you commitments, and then you can go there and then it gives you everything you want to know about commitments. Okay. So in a nutshell, you have got all that. And if I come back now to that, you have the ability to do your commitments. Again, here this is just important. Then the other things, of course, you've got your IAM templates where you use for transaction types. So these are just generic, and depending on what you want to set up, again, this is important because already you have got them. But what I just want to show is the fact that you can, in most cases, always come to configuration and always come to capital. And then if you go across, you've got all your IAM templates there. So at the moment, you can then choose your IAM template. So you have got your IAM templates here, which you have got set up, the system ones and that. So if you want to add another one, just like in 7S, it all comes up to that. And the most important thing as well is these items are already in existence, so it's just reviewing them to know where they are, and then make sure that you are happy with how they look like, the feel of the two, and the transition. And then of course we have talked about the transaction types and all that. The display type is the same thing again. You just go here, set up the same thing, investment accounting, you go and then you do your setup. And then we come back to the thing which we're talking about from a transaction point of view. Now we have set up the cash rules. We have attached them to the commitments. We are happy. We have run the reports. Everything is there. And from a report point of view, again, it's just important to note that always the reports are very. The thing I like about V8 is it's very easy for you to look for what you want to look for. So if you go to the reports, then you'll be able to look at all the various reports there. So everything is there, the segments, IAM, analytics, you have got your performance analytics, you have got that. If you've got any custom reports, and everything is there. So it's easy for you to look for the information you want to look at. And then when you look at admin, if you're just an administrator, you know this is your baby, and then and then that's it. And that is quite important from a user point of view. It will get some time to get used around this, but it's more easy to navigate around this particular platform. And so if we come back now, we were talking about transactions that we have set up. Again, historically, for most of you, you know this. You know, when you do your batch allocations, you have got your cascade between entities. You can do that, and this is defined as such. And then, of course, the most important thing is when you create your capital transactions, you are effectively creating a new capital batch, and you can do all these things and also these receipts. And once we have got that, effectively, we are looking in total what we have. You have got your IAM transaction, you process it, and once you process that, you just make sure that you are happy. But the system allows you, as well as you have done in 7S, to change the effective date, to delete and reverse the transactions. So if I come here, again, for processing point of view, I'm not going to process anything, but what I am going to say is there are two ways of processing. If you want for a particular entity, you can come here. If you want to do a capital call, you can do a capital call. And then the same screen appears, whereby you have got that, you can choose whatever you want to do, you can add a transaction type, you can do everything. So this is the same screen you have in 7S. The only thing is it's very intuitive that you can go to a particular entity and you can do your capital calls. Or you can have here a capital call. The only difference is let's say I don't know your what do you call it, all the intricacies, but if I pick a particular item and already it has got the details, I'll be able to see what capital is being called, what is remaining, and what has been received and what is remaining. So I'll be able to do that. Yeah.
If you pick Erbium there again, the same UR code, that might show you something.
So it's
U for umbrella, R for Romeo.
70. To post month. Okay. I'll just put that. Do you have something in the ledger there for this one? I will just check all. So it seems that there is some issue there.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry.
I don't think they have any capital calls.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was only capital calls it was going to show. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's just capital calls. So
yeah.
okay. So
I was
if
kind
you
of trying to
come
call that out, search more. So we don't use that system yet, but we really want to.
Oh.
And so if you could actually go into a little bit more detail and show us a full walkthrough using the capital call, that would be great because we fully plan to use that going forward.
Okay.
We've got the
Okay. All right. So now, if I look at this before I do that, if I come here and do here, all things being equal, what should happen is when you do capital calls, you should have a subledger. So the investor subledger is you just come into IM, and this is a very common one. So the investment we are looking at is, do we have, okay, so at the moment you have got you are 70 as the investor. Now, the reason why we are saying that is if you have not entered the transaction between capital calls from investor to that here, and you have, I'll just explain briefly here. So if I come here, sorry, if I come here, I'll just put in just a date, and I'll just put it today, and I just generate a system template for now. Okay, so you can see you have got your commitments, and for this particular investor, you have called the contribution, and that's the contribution you have. Okay, so what we have here is the fact that you are using this, but because you have set up your transaction types as not generating a journal, if you recall, when you come here, it's only updating the subledger, but the GL is not updating. This is why you couldn't see these transactions when we're trying to run the capital call. That's the only reason.
Sorry, I think we set up the transaction types to with debit and credit accounts as well.
Yes, but you didn't create. Okay, let me just come here. Okay, I'll explain that. If you come to the capital account here and the transaction type, you didn't allow a journal here. So what happens is, I'll give a quick example because we are in test. Okay, so what it means is when you generate that capital call, it will create a capital call, but it won't update your GL.
But is it because of settings?
Yes, because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what at the moment, a quick explanation before I come back, if you don't mind. I just want to finish this explanation quickly. The reason is, you guys are doing your GL transaction journal. So you're doing manually your GL transactions. You are going to debit, cash or credit, credit capital in your GL. You are doing that manually. So all you are doing is you are doing it in here. Okay. So if I come journal, create. So sorry, there is something which is interesting there. I don't know what happened. Let me just try it from here. I don't know what happened there. I'll come back to this quickly because I just want to make sure this is okay. Kyra, I just need your help on that one. But I'll explain it without even going in here. So what I'm basically saying is, when you are in the system here, when you create a journal, this journal does not update your GL because it's not linked, because you have said no. So for you to allow that to happen, let's look at a particular example which I was looking at just now. So if I come back to our investment and I go to our report and we run this, okay? It's showing quite a lot, but I just want to come here, contribution. Okay, so you have generated this control account. But if you go to that control account, it will just show you posting, but when you come to the journal, there is nothing. So it means that your GL is not being updated. Yes, it's showing you a cash transaction, updating just your subledger, which is correct, but your GL, so this transaction was on, if I come here, this particular transaction, come on. Let's just make it easy so that we don't have too many transactions. Yeah, just make it easy. Just make it easy. So we have got these transactions. So this contribution, which were received. So you find that if I click on this control account, again, there is no journal there. There is no amount. So if I go to this, to the ledger, I won't be able to do that because this is for your investor. You are not keeping investor transactions in the ledger. Hence, that is not there. All you are doing is you are just taking the global sum and say debit cash received from investors and credit your contribution as a lump sum. You are not breaking it down. So in a nutshell, that is what's happening. And this is why you won't see this in the ledger itself.
Yeah. So I think as of today, we post all of our sort of capital call activity. We post as journals, and then when it comes to truing up, like the investor reporting, we do income allocation to capture movements correctly, so for reporting. And when we do that, the income allocation piece is not hitting the GL. It's just pure subledger with no cash accounts. And I guess that's how we originally set up, because we weren't, using the system to generate real kind of capital call calculations. So if we want to step change that in the future, and presumably we can't just do it overnight, we need to give it some thought and proper config work. But that would be the goal, I think, for us going forward, is one day to actually use the system, especially once in the future we have IM, the module, is to use the system to do true, capital call accounting, and capture the cash element as well.
That's correct. So if I come here, you have got, so that's why you have zeroizing there, I guess. That's the reason it's just in and out. You are using just the same account, and you are not affecting, I guess, the investment. This is sort of like the journal which goes to the investment, the capital contribution and all that. So if I come here, let me just say what I just want to do one small thing here. What do we call this one? We call this share capital called. So if I come here on the transaction type and I look for share capital. I think it's quite further down the line. So what I am going to do is, I don't know how far it's linked up, so I don't want to mess this up. So what I just wanted to say is, I just wanted to give you an example and say, if I say yes here and save that, if I go and process a transaction here, it will update both your GL and your subledger, so that if I go to that particular entity GL, which is particularly the report, I'll be able to see that already posted in the GL. So you don't need to do that journal which we are talking about effectively.
So say in old 7S, the batch allocation, when you were doing a capital batch, when you were doing a batch allocation and you were selecting contribution, that's not the same as selecting here capital call. The capital calls different.
It's the same. The only difference is it's only your subledger which is being updated. Your GL is not being updated because you are doing that manually.
And
when I say manually,
selected no.
Yes, because but if you wanted that to just happen simultaneously, let me try this. If it doesn't help, it's okay. You can always forgive me. So the share capital, it's the transaction type which I'm choosing is this one, share capital. I'll just save that. Just remind me, okay? And if I come here, for example, and I just add a cash transaction, and I can just choose any, and I can just choose, in this case, let's say UR70. Okay. What's the investor for that? What's its underlying investment?
You are 40.
You are 40. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say it's our transaction date today, and we just use same and transaction type. It's, what was it? Share capital. I say general. Okay. Let's say I'm just going to take that, and if I save that, okay, so it's not, transaction types not defined. So this is what I was trying to avoid, because you have not defined it. So it's an exercise which needs to be done. So if this was defined on that particular SPV, for SPV 001, what it meant is I was going to be able to then generate the journal there, and that journal was going to be done. So unfortunately, I picked the wrong transaction type to use. But I think you get the logic, what I'm trying to say, that the processing is still the same. The only thing is this journal will then be generated, and possibly when we run next, after the break, I'll just look for an example which works, and then we can quickly run that, if that makes sense, because I don't want to waste your time. Yeah. But the idea is, once you run that, it will be able to generate the journal in the GL, and I'll be able to come in this entity or in this entity and see that transaction. On one side, it will be capital. On the other side, it will be investment in subsidiary. And this is where your transaction types and your cash flow comes in. Because in the investor at the moment, it's just a true up. You're just saying in and out. But if for any other reason you're looking at the beyond the fund level entities below, you definitely need those transactions so that you don't go in that entity and try to do the same journal effectively. Okay. So sorry about that. It didn't work because it's just the setup. I thought this setup was going to be okay, but I'll just check that for you. Okay. But it's a good point. I've just noted that down. Yeah. That's a good point. We come back to that. So in terms of that then, what it means is, let me just go back here. What it means then is, if you process that transaction, then if you come to capital call, you'll be able to effectively then run, and then it will show that particular transaction. So here, this one was not checking. Yeah, so I'll be able to say, to show the capital code and everything and that, and then it will show here. But in this instance, it's not showing because of the setup issue. Yeah. So in a nutshell, this is what we have in terms of the transaction processing. And once you have got that, there are a few things which you want to do. Let's say you run that report, that transaction, and then you are not happy with that, you want to delete. Then you have got the toolbox here. So this toolbox does a lot of things. You can delete the cache transaction. So like batch management, you can do that. So you can delete your cache transactions. You can do a few things as well. Income, that you can delete your roll-up, you can delete your capital call, your distribution, and all that. So you have got a few things here. Then you can calculate that. The most important thing which I forgot to mention is, when you have got your commitments here, when you have got your commitments, unlike 7S, it is important that when you update your commitments, you should be able to come here and make sure that you rebuild your commitments. Why? Because if you don't rebuild your commitments are not up to date. Fortunately enough, so that people don't forget that, you can always do that with a few things here. So if you come here, you have got your background tasks. So you can set up your background task to make sure that you can set up some tasks. At the moment, this is to rebuild status rollups, but you can also set up some tasks to make sure that rebuild is possible. I just need to quickly confirm that because I can't see this because I don't want to confuse you here. So effectively, you just need to come and run it from here. And it will say rebuild successful. So that's the most important part. So it's important for you to know that. So in essence, when we talk of capital transactions or IAM transactions, we are talking of cascade rule sets and everything associated with that. So in a nutshell, that's IAM transactions. I know it's already 11 o'clock, time moves so fast. Sorry if I'm too fast, but feel free to ask a question. So what we want to cover now next will be, before we do the roll-ups, I want to cover quickly the transactions, how you post your journals and all that. So post your journals, before we go on a break, your journals can be processed in two ways. So you've got accounting, your journals here, investment accounting. So you can come here, and if you want to add a journal, it's easy. You add that, a journal. Then you can search if you've got an open page. you can look for that. If you want to create a new batch, you can do that, and then you just save next, and then of course once you do that, you just add your journal in the normal way. So this is what you have. You put in your journals, and then you have got your usual display type. You'll be able to choose that, and then you'll be able to enter your transactions in the normal way. And if it goes through a workflow, it will go through a workflow if ever you have got that. But I don't think you've got workflows for journals. So that's a quick way of doing the journals. That is on the face of V8. Another way is if you want, it's all done again in GeoManager. So in GeoManager, you have got your transactions more. It's the same. It's more options there. And if you've got the various a workflow dashboard, if you are approving your journals, then you'll be able to see that. This is the issue, and then you've got all the other things which you can do, which you effectively did in 7S. So from a journal point of view, this is quite straightforward. And if ever you are doing other things as well, like processing payables, payments, again, it's the same thing. You can review your payments. You can do all sorts of things there if you are doing that. And then, of course, once you have got that, you can run your reports in the normal way, like I say. On the report side, you find that you have got all these reports, standard reports, which you have. Again, you can choose by property or the list, and then, of course, the book and the period. And then, of course, you have got other options there where you can do the usual stuff. If you are doing attributes, if you are choosing that, the segment, you can do that. And then, of course, you want to show suppress zeros, you want to show everything there. It's all done. Then you can always run that particular report. So in essence, once you run the report, you can do that. You have got things like geoallocations, which if you're doing any geoallocations, you have got that. If you've got any geoallocations, it will show here, but if not, then you can do some geoallocations. I'm not going into detail in that, but I just want to show you the possibility of that. The main thing is the processing part. You can do that. Now, once you do that, there is the issue which we raised before, where we are saying, okay, we are not processing individual journals. We are processing a big set of journals. Okay, so we have got the option to load these journals. And for you to do that, you come up to setup and you import. And if you click here, this is the interesting part. You don't need your old ETL. You can just come here and export the template, and that template will come out automatically. Now, this is the difference. So you find that the template which you get here is this template. Okay. So it will have all the tabs. It will show you the template where you add your journals, but it will show you your sample of saying how do you do it. It's the standard one. You find that it's all the same, which you have your normal journal. You put in all that and that. Now, it will also show you the tips as well, which are standard. What are you putting in each? The most important thing is you don't need to change these two templates. All you are going to change is that. And then you can populate the journals which you want in the normal way using this example. Once you have got that, you can then just come here and choose that particular entity, that template, this one. And then once because at the moment there is no data present in the file, but if there is data, it will be dragged here, and then you import your journals. So you don't need to go to the ETL stuff, you just need to go through this functionality for all your journals. So this is what is important. And related to this.
Sorry, could you pop up the template again just for a second? Sorry, I got distracted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is the template. Okay. So this is where you populate.
Okay,
And
and
this
it's
is
still
them.
a CSV that you would save down, is it?
Yeah,
Or
you just
Excel?
save it. Yeah, you just save it as Excel there.
Okay.
Is there
Yeah.
any difference in this template than the one for 7S?
In essence, there is no major difference. It's still the same field. The only
Same
thing
field
is
as the ETL,
it-
yeah.
yeah. So the only difference is you can see that at the top there is no need to say ETL whatever and then the headers. Everything is just heading, and then you just populate, and then it's just the same. If you see, you can have that. And this is why I'm saying you.
The tax journal, where does the entries go for the tax journal?
You have got everything. Remember, you can decide the display type here, so it's there. So you have got
because you can-
yeah.
If you
So you
change
decide.
that to tax journal,
Then you have got everything there. It includes all your tax points and tax amounts. Everything is there.
And
so you
can
need
you
to say
do-
in that column that you would say standard, intercompany, or tax, depending on which.
Exactly.
Okay.
Do you have
Can you do
a
AP?
bigger example? Like an
Okay,
example
so-
with all the possible variations?
Sorry.
I'm just wondering, do you have an example that is maybe more than 4 lines long that has a few different, it explains more the different types that you could do in here?
Okay. So the short answer is no, but the other good answer is I've got a detailed white paper which explains
okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay,
Which I'm
perfect.
going to show, which I'll send over to you. So this is what it is. So it goes
Yeah, I'll-
into detail. How you do it, the purpose, it goes in, and then it explains in detail the examples, and then it goes through what you can do, and then effectively everything is here.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
So I'll share this with you. Okay. But again, what we can do as well is you can just export any journal from 7S, okay, with different display types, and just copy and paste the correct amounts. Let's say, for simplicity's sake, copy and paste the different sections, and then you just go different that, and then you just come in here. I'm just doing a shortcut for you now, since you asked, and then just come here, select that, import it, and see if it works in test. Yeah.
And can we do AP Ledger imports as well? Like if you
The-
want to do like to do record transactions via the AP Ledger with an ETL import.
The short answer is no. Remember, I said earlier, at the moment that is going to be done in 7S, the other ETL imports. So anything to do with AP, then it's still 7S for now. The only thing you can do here in GeoLedger is the only thing you can do now is just you import the journals. Remember, when we look at this as well, the other thing is you don't have, let's say, P2P, for example. You are not using P2P, which is a different module. And Kyra, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something else, and that has to do with direct AP. Here you can see that on the AP is very limited what you can do. Yeah, you can just
Yeah,
add
P2P and
yeah,
data
yeah,
some more.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you actually just quickly show us what it looks like to go into the add payable on this home screen?
So
just to see what it looks like on the front end.
Okay, so add payable batch is just the same. You can come here, save, then you can just edit, put in whatever you want to put in, save, and then of course you can just add your normal payable for that particular card. So it's the same. And then again, the display type, at the moment you've got intercompany and standard, you do that. Everything is, so if I put in standard, that intercompany disappears, and then you have got all your stuff down there. So
okay.
It's just the same thing.
Yeah, got it. No, that's helpful.
Yeah. So again, that's something which you can explore once you do this. With Insight, it would have been good if we had a few people who have been set up so that they can also play around as we discuss, but Insight is a good thing. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, I have a question regarding the ETL.
Yes, please.
Is it still the same in the 7S wherein we can disregard the columns, unnecessary columns in the ETL, and then upload it here? Because yeah, we have a lot of columns which we normally didn't use on our fund.
The short answer is, the idea behind that, you find, what am I going to say, when we look at the position paper, white paper, all things being equal, what I've not done in the past is, how can I quickly answer that without giving a better answer, is we can test that. Because all I've done in the past is, for this particular section, I've just said import and put in that, and then just disregard the other ones. So all things being equal, it should work because the other ones are redundant. That's the short answer, but just to get your peace of mind, we just need to test that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but all things being equal, it makes sense if, for instance, you are not using that. Yeah, you can when you come here, you are not using that, you can disregard that. Take out what's not necessary, and just remain with what you need to have. Yeah, but we can test that. Yeah.
Okay.
When you get access, please test it. If it's an issue, just reach out to me or Kiara, and then we'll look at that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I've looked at the processing type on the processing part of the GL. Again, the most important thing is IM is mostly investment accounting. GL is more or less the processing part, setting up properties, legal entities, and then units, and that you don't need that. And then, of course, for system, if you want to see a list of all the GLs, you just come to system here, and then once you come here, it will show you your chart of accounts. So usually you used to go into 7S, and then I think reports, and you say financial, and then you look chart of accounts. Here it's just come here system, and you go just to the GL system. You just go to the GL, and then GL accounts, and then you print, and this is your chart of accounts. Then of course you can just restrict if you just want regular headers. Then it will just produce regular headers, and that's it. And again, wherever you see this, it gives you the options. So you can export it to Excel, just like what you've done before. You can all do that. Then if you want to customize your view, you can do that. So customized view is effectively, you should reflect when you display what you want to see. So you can do that as well. So I think that's quite useful. I know we overshot to 15 past. The bit now which we want to look at next will be the consolidation itself, the roll-ups. And one other thing which I want to look at as well is currency. Currency will go through that. And then hopefully we'll have time to cover the service manager interface, which effectively allows you to automate your processing. So when I say automate your processing, it's like instead of running rollups from the rollups in other currents translation, you can set it up as a task and then it automatically runs that for you, depending on the entity. Okay, so can we have how many minutes break? 5 or 10 minutes again?
We'll just stick with 5 for this one, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so 21. See you in 5 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.